Flying private is often associated with extreme wealth, but sometimes flying private costs less than first class. Not always. Not for everyone. But in specific situations, the math flips. Let's break this down properly. To understand the economics, let's first compare commercial first class with a private charter. A round-trip first-class ticket on a major U.S. route, like New York to Los Angeles, can cost $3,000 to $5,000 per person. Of course, this price fluctuates significantly based on the season, how far in advance you book, and the specific airline. On popular international routes, say from the U.S. to Europe, that number jumps dramatically to $10,000 to $15,000 per seat. Now, imagine a small group of 4 people traveling together. Domestically, you're already looking at $12,000 to $20,000. For that international trip, the total could easily reach $40,000 to $60,000 in tickets alone. And that's before considering baggage fees, seat selection charges, change fees, or any upgrades for flexibility, which can add hundreds, if not thousands, more to the final bill. Now, let's look at a light jet charter for a similar short regional trip. On certain routes, chartering a whole light jet might cost between $15,000 and $25,000. That's the total price, not per person. This all-in price typically covers the aircraft, crew, fuel surcharges, and standard landing fees. If 4 passengers split that cost evenly, the price per person can fall between roughly $4,000 and $6,000. Suddenly, the cost becomes comparable to, and in some cases even better than, buying 4 separate domestic first-class tickets. And when you factor in the convenience, privacy, and time saved, the difference in value becomes significant. You choose the departure time. You avoid commercial terminals. There are no connections, and there is no boarding chaos. Second, consider time value. Time is the hidden variable most people ignore when calculating travel costs. While we meticulously track dollars, we often fail to account for our most finite resource. If a business owner or executive's time is valued at thousands of dollars per hour, losing half a day to airport logistics is not a trivial expense. The typical commercial travel process is filled with unproductive, mandatory waiting. It includes driving to large, congested airports, arriving 90 minutes early, navigating long security lines, and facing unpredictable boarding delays. Even after takeoff, you contend with taxi time, potential connections, and finally, waiting at baggage claim. That entire door-to-door process can easily consume 5 to 8 hours of productive time for a relatively short flight. Private aviation compresses that timeline dramatically. You arrive minutes before departure, land at smaller airports much closer to your final destination, and depart entirely on your own schedule. A trip that takes 6 hours commercially might only take 3 hours via a private charter. That's 3 hours of productive time regained. For a professional whose time is worth $2,000 an hour, that recovered time represents $6,000 in value. For a team of 4, that's $24,000. Suddenly, the math begins to look very different. Third, let's talk about the most sensationalized path to affordable private travel: empty leg flights. An empty leg occurs when a jet flies a one-way charter and must then reposition without passengers, either to return to its home base or to pick up its next set of clients. Since the aircraft has to make that flight anyway, operators would rather recoup some of their fuel and crew costs than fly completely empty. So they often sell that specific route at a steep discount. We're talking 50 to 75% below standard charter pricing. That is where those dramatic headlines come from. Fly on a private jet for the price of an economy ticket. You can find these deals through charter brokers, specialized apps, and by signing up for operator email alerts. But here is the crucial nuance. Empty legs are strictly one way. They are completely inflexible, and most importantly, They can be canceled at the last minute if the original full-price charter booking changes or cancels. You do not control the route. You do not control the timing. They are purely opportunistic, not reliable. If your plans are set in stone, an empty leg is a high-risk gamble. So while they can drastically lower the cost of a single flight, they are not a dependable strategy for consistent travel. Think of it as a lucky bonus, not a reliable plan. Now let's discuss when private aviation does not make sense. If you are flying alone on a short commercial route, private will almost always be more expensive. If you are flexible with commercial schedules, the savings from airlines are significant. If your time does not carry high financial weight, commercial travel remains efficient. Private aviation only narrows the gap under specific conditions. Group travel, high time value, or discounted repositioning flights. Outside of those situations, commercial travel wins. The real economy of flying private is not about luxury. It is about trade-offs, time, flexibility, control, cost per passenger, opportunity cost. When those variables align, private aviation can be rational. When they do not, it becomes indulgence. Understanding that distinction is what prevents overpaying, and that is what JetEconomy is here to clarify. If you want practical breakdowns of private aviation economics without the hype, subscribe, because clarity compounds.